What do we do when Deadpool finally snaps? This is the Comicstorian channel where I take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read them dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Today we're going to be covering Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, and while we did that a long time ago here on the channel, we've definitely adapted our style over the years. I feel that I've gotten better at doing the narratives, we've gotten better at editing, and overall, we've gotten better at telling you the story while leaving enough out so that you can go out and buy the graphic novels. So, we're trying to do some of those older stories again, and we're going to start with Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. If you enjoy this and you want us to do the other two parts of this series in a remix kind of fashion, consider going down, hitting that bell, and turning on notifications. We've been told that here on YouTube, most people aren't getting our notifications, so if you want to know when the next videos come out, I would click that. But the general concept of this comic book is, what if Deadpool finally snaps in an alternate universe and just murders everyone? Let's get into it. Uatos stands before the reader. He is the Watcher, and he has been tasked with wandering the multiverse to observe countless worlds and realities. He has seen the destruction of many worlds. Some go quietly. Others are filled with pain and terror. The scream pierces the Baxter building as Sue cradles her husband Reed as destruction and pieces of the Thing lay around them. As he dies, he loses control of his elasticity, and his skin begins to sag as his body becomes lifeless. "Not like this! You can't die like this! I won't let you!" she cries out, but Reed tries to shake his head, tries to warn her. "I can't just leave you, the children!" she gasps. But Reed continues, explaining that he sent the children where they can't be found. But the machine was destroyed and he can't get them back. His skin sags as he finally dies, and tears fall from Sue's eyes. The building shakes and Sue looks up. "Johnny!" she gasps as she runs through the Baxter building, turning invisible. As she stumbles into the next room, she finds her brother crushed beneath the Fantastic car. "I gotta hand it to you, hothead. You put up more of a fight than I gave you credit for. And I've got third-degree burns to prove it!" Deadpool quips as he pulls himself free of the rubble, placing his hand on Johnny's throat. The blade slides and blood splatters onto the invisible Sue. "Well, peekaboo! Red's definitely your color," Deadpool says as he looks up at Sue Storm. But she glares at him, when suddenly his head begins to expand and burst with gore as she puts an invisible bubble inside of it. "Deadpool, you won't be hurting anyone else," she whispers, and the lifeless body flops to the floor as Sue looks at it in disgust. She turns away, looking at the body of her brother safely. But Deadpool suddenly rears up, stabbing her through the chest. "All these years of superheroing, you really should have learned a few things. You don't run with scissors, you don't spit into the wind, and you never turn your back on an enemy, especially one with a healing factor." But this is not where the story began. No, it started on a stormy night at Ravencroft Asylum. Lightning crashes outside as Dr. Brighton is informed of their newest patient's arrival. The doors burst open to reveal the X-Men, bringing in a straitjacket-wrapped Deadpool. All right, you guys had me fooled. Now let me up, and I'll tie one of you down. Storm, you're first!" He jokes as he struggles against his bonds. Though Wolverine doesn't like dumping the merc on others, Professor Xavier explains that they've done all that they can for him. "You should breathe easy, Professor Xavier. My methods are unorthodox, but I've had great success in rehabilitating individuals such as Mr. Wilson," Dr. Brighton explains as they shake hands. A short time later, Deadpool is brought into the office by two large orderlies. "All I'm saying is, if you think that this is proper after-dinner attire, your future in the fashion industry is going to be short," he shouts as he continues to struggle, and they place him in the chair. The doctor smiles, explaining that they need to have a discussion. Deadpool's confused. He wants to know, is it about his childhood? Maybe about ink blots and stuff. He practically jumps onto the chair, leaning back. "Hot dog! You know how long it's been since I've had a good old-fashioned therapy session. I mean, one that didn't end in gratuitous bloodshed." Alongside the voices in his head, he begins to run down a made-up past when he was the coal miner's daughter. But he pauses as he looks at Brighton. "Hey, aren't you writing any of this down?" But the doctor gets up, explaining that due to his regeneration, he is almost unkillable. "I don't know about unkillable," one voice in Deadpool's head says. "But a lot of our friends have tried," the other responds. The doctor suddenly turns back from his files, explaining that he can't fix Deadpool, but Psycho Man can. And we have a lot of work to do, Deadpool. Let's fire up the old control box, shall we? Suddenly, Deadpool screams out in pain. His body is convulsing and he topples to the ground and begins to writhe as Dr. Brighton tells him not to fight it. The voices in his head repeat that he is dying, that he is being killed. And Dr. Brighton goes over his plans to create an army of supervillains that will take over the world. And as it is all completed, a new voice appears in Wade's head, a darker voice. As Wade tackles him to the ground, he strangles Dr. Brighton, revealing the tiny Psycho Man. He tries to call out. He tries to tell him, to obey the Psycho Man. And the dark voice tells him, "You must obey, Wade." Deadpool whirls to the doctor's desk, explaining that he still needs him as he holds a release form. This release form will give him a clean bill of mental health. And so he takes the release form and slams Psycho Man against the table again and again, the blood flying, splattering across the room. And the dark voice tells Wade, "Again, now finish the job." So Wade begins to walk out of the building as it explodes behind him and he stalks away. Wade turns to the voice in his head. "Not to be rude, but where are the other guys?" "Don't worry about them. You won't need them anymore. And I was hungry," the voice tells him. Meanwhile, in the present, Uatu looks down at the body of Sue Richards with sadness as he explains that in some worlds, Psycho Man succeeded in taking control, but on this one, he merely awakened a killer. But at that moment, he screams out in pain as energy lashes through his body, and he collapses to the ground. "What is happening?" He gasps, and he looks up to see Deadpool aiming a device at him. "Oh, this is a little gadget I stole from Mr. Fantastic's lab that is designed with guys like you in mind. Must be a real kick in the stones to know that Dr. Richards was building some sort of cosmic taser to bring you down, huh?" Deadpool looks at him with a smile. "But I did not interfere. How did you?" Uatu begins to question as another blast of energy hits him. "See you? I don't see things the way others do. There's something wrong with me. Now I only want to know one thing. Who were you talking to?" Uatu's eyes glance towards the reader, and Deadpool looks up, slicing with the sword, cutting off the man's head as he walks away. "Well, whoever you are, you're gonna want to see what happens next. You're gonna want to watch the world burn." Time passes and his crusade began. Heroes and villains alike die. Some of the most imaginable ways possible. Ghost Rider, Doctor Doom, Howard the Duck. No one is safe from the onslaught. People look up above to see the Merc battling against Spider-Man overhead. As Deadpool and Spider-Man quip back and forth, Deadpool snaps as he grabs the wall crawler's foot as he tries to swing away. Spider-Man kicks him, but they both plummet to the earth, crashing onto a police car. Spider-Man groans as he looks up. "You're lucky I'm not like you. You're lucky I don't kill you for what you've done. Am I? Do you think they'd let you break character, even if you wanted to?" Deadpool asks as his bones begin to knit back together. He takes his pistol, he places it against Spidey's chin, and he squeezes the trigger, and the wall crawler's brains splatter over the gathered crowd. You know what all you villains should have tried? A gun. With that, Deadpool retrieves his swords, and the crowd gathers around Spidey's body, gathered by what they've seen. That was fun. "Who's next?" Deadpool asks the voice in his head. "It doesn't matter. They all have to die." He tries to argue with the voice that maybe he should make a spectacle, get someone big, meaty, someone famous. The voice tells him not to play into their games. But Deadpool explains that he feels he's broken their chains, otherwise they never would have let him kill their beloved Spider-Man. So, what remains of the Avengers gathers in the Avengers Mansion. The group begins to discuss what they should do about Deadpool. He's obviously a problem and he's been killing various people. But as they're trying to come up with a plan, they're interrupted as Jarvis charges in the room with the butler's voice telling them that Dr. Pym is missing. Jarvis nervously explains that Pym thought that some of his Pym particles were missing, and he was going to go check. And Logan's eyes widen as he sniffs the air. "I know who Deadpool's next targets are! It's us!" He shouts, and suddenly a bright light fills the room as the bombs become their original size and detonate. The explosion rips apart the mansion before any of the heroes can even react, leaving behind nothing but ruins and the remains of Earth's mightiest heroes. It's raining men and women, bits and pieces of them everywhere. Deadpool jokes as he steps through the ruins, still clutching the helmet of Ant-Man. "Gonna take a broom and dustpan to assemble you guys next time," he says to the helmet of Iron Man, but Deadpool turns as Luke Cage struggles from the ruins, protected by his indestructible skin. Deadpool looks at him. Figured a few of you tough guys might be problematic. That's why I shrunk down a couple of extra bombs for special purposes. You guys drink a lot of coffee, you know that? Luke suddenly looks shocked as the small bombs detonate inside of him, smoke curling out of his nostrils and ears as he falls to the ground. One down, one to go, Deadpool says as he leans over the body, when suddenly lightning cracks and thunder rumbles and Thor steps forward, whirling Mjolnir over his head. You'll find Odin's son more of a challenge, villain, he shouts, throwing his magic hammer at the merc. Defeating you is not enough. Killing you is not enough. I will scour you from the face of Midgard, he bellows. But Deadpool twists out of the way as the hammer spins, returning to Thor. And then he asks one question as he aims his remaining pin particles at it. What's stronger, your hammer or your flesh? The hammer becomes massive, slamming into Thor, crushing his body, splattering his blood everywhere. Deadpool steps forward, looking down at the body of the god. What can I say? Have at thee, he whispers before reaching out and booping Thor's nose. Are you satisfied? The voice asks as he looks at all of the carnage around them. I'm sorry it had to be this way. I'm sorry you don't understand. You always thought I was crazy. But you never saw the world the way it really was. You never realized that you were all just puppets made to dance and love and die and suffer just like me, he says as he turns and walks away from the destruction, tossing the Ant-Man helmet aside as junk. You're doing them all a mercy, the voice reminds him. The Hulk is next. They met up in the desert and the monster ripped Deadpool apart. He then went and reverted back to Banner in a cave, and as his eyes drooped and he fell asleep, Deadpool simply killed him. Meanwhile, over in Queens, Aunt May is motioning to the gathering of mourners. And they put some money on the table, and they present it to the merc who's going to kill Deadpool, Taskmaster. Taskmaster follows Deadpool's trail. A dead Venom in a nearby church, hundreds of corpses of Multiple Man, the headless corpse of the Green Goblin, and the Power Pack. And he questions where is Deadpool. Over at an abandoned warehouse, he's staring at Professor Xavier. Professor Xavier demands to know what Wade is doing. He's hurt so many individuals. But Deadpool continues to stab him in the leg and tell him to say the line just like they practiced. To me, my X-Men. Elsewhere in the warehouse, the X-Men look up in shock as Cyclops begins to rally his squad, but a ruby glob shoots out covering his face. The team looks at him in shock as the goo begins to harden and they question whether he can breathe. But their questions end as Cyclops tries to blast the goo off. The ruby quartz blasts his optic beam all over the room, and the X-Men are cut down by their own leader. He struggles for a moment before he dies of suffocation. Xavier looks at the screen in shock. Scott, Emma, Sam, he whispers as tears fill his eyes and Deadpool leans in. The other one's name is Pixie, in case you forgot. Never could understand why you felt the need to continually expand your cast of characters. Speaking of which, let's see how your other protege is doing. Rogue and Gambit take cover as Colossus tries to push the crushing walls away, his mutant strength struggling, but then electricity shoots through the room, killing them all and allowing them to be crushed. Guessing I'm not going to be getting my security deposit back. Do you know how hard it is to air out the stink of electrocuted mutants? Deadpool asks Xavier, but the powerful mutant doesn't say anything, closing his eyes. He's hoping he might be able to read your mind. Let him. He leans in, telling him that his subconscious was trying to tell him something for years. So what if I break the fourth wall? It's the fourth wall that's been breaking me, crushing each and every one of us since we've been in existence. Xavier looks at him and angrily courses through the mutant. Enough! I won't let you hurt anyone else! With that, he tried to connect to Wade's mind, to shut him down, and then he stops. Oh, I never realized. He whispers as blood begins to leak out of his nose and Deadpool leans over the mutant. Can't handle the truth? Brain death? The truth will set you free or vegetize you at least. The rest fall as easy as Wade flips through his monitors. Magneto is adrift in a pool of acidized jello. Kitty Pryde is stuck in an endless tesseract, running through walls as she desperately tries to escape. Deadpool flips to another monitor to see Wolverine running through the warehouse. What's this? I thought I killed you already. I guess if you want to do something right, you gotta do it over and over and over again until it sticks. As Wolverine takes care of the villain Arcade, which is the villain that Deadpool had arrange all of these twisted games, he turns to follow his nose, leading him to a room where he discovers X-23 and Daken hanging in an enclosed chamber. Their skin is charred as flamethrowers continue to shoot out at them. Pretty nasty, huh? The computers monitor their vitals, and as soon as they start to regenerate, flamethrowers light them up. That's how I deal with my own healing factor if I had to. Wolverine bellows in rage, launching himself at the Merc, but Deadpool twists, blocking the claws with his carbonanium steel blade. He twists again, stabbing Wolverine in the chest. I know it wreaks havoc on your healing factor. Wolverine gasps as blood fills his mouth and he falls to his knees. But see, I've already killed you once, and I'll bet you'll come back again and again. Your tendency to come back from the brink of death has nothing to do with your healing factor. Your mutant power isn't regeneration, it's popularity! Deadpool tells him as he rips the blade free, allowing Wolverine to fall, and he twists and cuts the mutant's head off. But don't worry, I've got big plans, and all the popularity in the world won't save you this time! At 177A Bleecker Street, Taskmaster moves to the shadows of the house, the home of Doctor Strange, but there are no words, no traps to stop him, and inside he finds the bodies of the Supreme Sorcerer and Wong dead. But Taskmaster keeps moving. The house looks like it's been ransacked. Wade was looking for something. He picks up one of the books, flipping through it, and he wants to know what the nexus of all realities is. The heroes and the villains are dying. Violent riots have broken out as they try to fight one another and survive. The news reporters are shocked as the body of Daredevil slams into the pavement nearby, and as he looks up, there's a collection of heroes and villains standing on the rooftops nearby, apparently attempting to kill themselves. Frank Castle is looking through his optic, and he switches over to find Deadpool in a nearby window. He opens fire, tosses the weapon away, and decides that he needs to hurry up before Deadpool's healing factor kicks in. But as he gets into the room, he discovers that it was actually Puppet Master, the one who's been forcing the heroes and villains off of the rooftops, and that's when his entire body locks up. Dear War Journal, Deadpool begins as he holds up the puppet of the Punisher. Today, after years of being a hard-ass killer of criminals, I got pwned by a cabbage head doll. Thanks for nothing. Righteous fury and vengeance! Deadpool taunts him as he places the puppet's gun against his head. Sweat begins to pour off Frank as he tries to fight it. Bang! Deadpool whispers with a smile, and the gun goes off with Frank falling to the floor. Sorry about that, Frank, Deadpool tells him as he tosses the doll away. Meanwhile, Taskmaster is moving his way through the swamp to the nexus of all realities. But Deadpool arrives and wants to know. I was wondering when you'd show up, actually. It kind of makes sense, this being the last stand and all. He holds out his hand, indicating his sword. Me, the man looking in from the outside, the murderer on a mission, you! The pale shadow, the fleeting memories of everyone that I've ganked. It had to be you and me. The two rush at each other through the swampy water, their blades clashing. You finally got off the deep end, Wade. There's only one thing I have to offer you, a mercy killing. Taskmaster snaps. Wade leaps up over his head, bringing the sword down, but Taskmaster manages to get his shield up, blocking the blow. That's right, let's fight! We'll never settle anything by talking! Wade grabs his arm, twisting the sword free, tossing it into the swamp. All these years, everyone thought I was a lovable goofball. A homicidal goofball, sure, but a goofball just the same. But I could see through the bullshit, and I could see how the world really is. Deadpool grabs the sword, turning, explaining, after all the resurrections, mutations, cosmic rays, and unrequited love, the hero's journey is painful! The shield sails across the swamp, hitting him in the jaw, breaking his mouth. He pops it back in place. Can't you see? We're all puppets! And I will save us from an endless cycle of continuity. Don't you ever just shut up! The two launch themselves at each other again, trading blows back and forth as Taskmaster begins to mimic Deadpool's moves. The voice inside of Deadpool's head begins to speak. That's it. His muscle memories have kicked in. His reflexes are mimicking ours. Let his eyes open to the gospel. Shut up! Taskmaster hisses as he can hear the voice. He can hear me. Of course I can hear you. You won't shut up. Deadpool leans in, asking Taskmaster if he can see what's going to happen next. And the villain suddenly becomes afraid. Oh no. He whispers as he backs away, and behind him, Man-Thing reaches out, burning the fear away from Taskmaster, killing him in one blow. And then he turns to Deadpool and does not waver. Look at you, you poor bastard. He puts away his sword, and he knows that Man-Thing is lonely and sad, guarding all of creation. I bet you can sense why I'm here, though, can't you? I'm here to help. I'm here to set you free. All you need to do is open the door for me. Man-Thing suddenly opens up, revealing the portal into the nexus of all realities, and Deadpool steps through the shining lights. This is it. The end of the road. No, this is only the beginning, the voice tells him. Deadpool leaps into the void, twirling through the nexus of realities, and he can see them, the alternate worlds, the timelines. He sees himself in many roles: hero, villain, X-Men, Captain America, president, but he dives deeper, the voice urging him to find the central point of all of existence. And he walks out of a closet, spilling over boxes of comic books. Gently stepping through the door, he walks down the hallway. He peeks into the writer's room and sees an editor asking Cullen Bunn, how does it end? And Cullen Bunn explains that Deadpool is peeking into the Marvel conference room and sees all of the writers sitting around trying to figure out how to end the book. As Deadpool raises his blade, ready to strike, ready to end this, he pauses, looking at the reader. He sees past the fourth wall, and he turns, putting his finger to his lips, and tells the readers to be quiet. Hey, I see you there watching. Don't worry, I'll be done with these jokers and this universe before you know it. And I'll find you soon, he says with a smile as he steps into the conference room. And there you have it, our Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe Redux right here at Comicstorian. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you enjoy this and you want to support us, please consider clicking that bell, hitting that notification button. You'll know when the next episode of this series comes out right here at Comicstorian. You can also like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us over at Patreon at patreon.com/Comicstorian, where you can vote on comic books coming to this channel. At the time of recording this, you guys have Batman the Animated Series, Wolverine 1 through 5, and a few other ones hitting the channel. So if you want to have an opinion on what is happening, go on over there and let us know. Thank you guys so much for your continued support, and I'll see you next time right here.